Hello, people of Earth. It is January 1st, 2022. It's 3:10 in the a.m. I am up because I was asleep. I guess I slept through the actual moment of New Year's, but because of all the fireworks that went off in my neighborhood, I woke up. I did see, all the people in the screen because NBC was on, but it was watching me sleep until that moment. So now I can't go back to sleep. So I figured I would revisit my thoughts on resurrections now that I've calmed down, now that I've watched a lot of people's responses to it, and noticed what people have missed and what they didn't like or supposedly didn't like. And I'm going to discuss that now, but I'm going to pause and unpause quite a bit because I'm having snacks. And I don't want to do that. So let's go. Okay, because I'm not a mentally organized person, I'm probably going to go back and forth between theories I have and what I think actually happened and comments on, what people have said. What I'm noticing, first of all, what I'm noticing with people who, it's not necessarily people who don't like it, it's just people who've done reviews and stuff. The first thing I notice that strikes me about people, whatever perception they're drawing, is a lot of people missed that a lot of these characters aren't just one thing. Like Morpheus, as played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen, and these are spoilers, obviously. I should have said so. I would put it up by now. But they're not just one character, in that they're a combination of characters. In my opinion, my theory, to go along with my old theory, which I'm trying to still fit into this movie, is that at the end of Revolutions, when, as I put it before, Neo became one with Source, where everybody else will agree that they had a truce, that sort of blended everything in together. And everything, it's not that everything became one, but it's like everything went into the same stew. Okay, because Smith was defeated, but he's still part of, you know what I mean? He's still part of the Matrix. So a lot of these characters, like the Jonathan Groff character, and the Neil Patrick Harris character, they basically said something. Now, I remember the Jonathan Groff character saying it, but they both basically said something to the effect that they're part different characters. Like, the Groff character said he wasn't just Smith. Like in that scene in Simulate, I don't have the footage. I'm not going to put the footage. You know me and copyright. Warner Brothers already hates my guts. Hates everybody's guts. But, so you guys can do that, because I have theories also about what's going to happen with copyright in the future. But, so for me, all these characters, they're all mixed in together now. Nobody is like, Neo isn't even pure Neo. Okay? But this is my theory shit. But I noticed that a lot of people did not pick up on the characters flat out. Basically, they didn't say it like, hey, guess what? I'm half this one, 3/4 that one, and another quarter. You know what I mean? They didn't say it like that, but they said things that are like, hey, I'm not just Smith. Like, Jonathan Groff's trying to tell Neo more than once, hey, bro, I'm on your side. I'm not just Smith anymore. And he's being patient with Neo, because Neo is completely screwed up. Neo has been on these blue pills for a long, long freaking time. He can't fly and he can't do that stuff. It's not because he's a cuck now and, Trinity is the badass. He's been drugged for a long time. That needs to wear off. That's why I don't believe for 1 second this is the last movie. If it is, it sucks, because there's plenty to do still. But he needs to remember who he was. And he didn't. He was just waking up throughout most of the movie. By the end, at the very end, with him and Trinity, I think he gets the gist of it. But the reason he couldn't fly, the reason she had to like pull him up and all that stuff, is because he doesn't, know thyself. Well, Neo doesn't know thyself. He doesn't know himself anymore. He doesn't remember who he is. He's trying to get it together, but he's been drugged. Now, who drugged him? That's my theories and stuff like that, but we'll get to that. The other thing I think people aren't picking up on, yeah, they're hearing it, yeah, they know it, yeah, they will tell you this fact, but I don't think they're understanding. 60 years went by. Okay? The only character we see that looks like 60 years went by is Niobe. She's the only character that we know is a real person. And she's the one that I think, if we want to know anything, we should trust her. Okay? So for 60 years, she's been there. She's been knowing what's going on. She doesn't want what happened to Zion to happen to Io. What happened to Zion. She also doesn't seem to trust Neo. She doesn't want him to screw up the situation they have, where the machines and the regular people are, living in symbiotic relationship. So for me, I think we need to pay attention to Niobe. Now, I don't have definitive theories. This is another movie that we're going to think about for years, just like we did with the old ones, if we want to. Maybe we're goofballs for doing that. I don't care. You know what I mean? I like this stuff. About the other real people, that guy, the one from Sense8, Max, the actor there, his name is Shepard. That makes me wonder if he doesn't actually have more of a Morpheus type role in their new society, if he's the shepherd. Because that's not important right now. What's important is what's going on with Neo and him waking up and him getting his shit together again. But, of course I have notes again. That's what I'm looking at. What she said, one of the quotes she said that I picked up on after, why is my stomach growling like that? She said, Niobe said to him, we were different then. This to me is one of those things that I'm going to latch on to for any theories I want to make. But she said, we were different then. What does that really mean? Io, I looked up Io because I was like, I think that has something to do with Jupiter. It's a moon of Jupiter. But the point is, back in the day, I guess in the Greek stuff, Io was one of Zeus's side pieces. Jupiter's side piece. That's why. And Niobe said the last thing the Oracle told them was that there was a new power rising. I assume that's the architect. Now, when we left Revolutions, the Oracle was there. Right? Just like I said, for me, for all we need from Revolutions is that last scene. What you did with Neo, becomes what I call one with the Force. One with Source. I said the Force. Same difference. And that last thing where, the Oracle and Sati are sitting on the bench looking at the sunset, which, like I said, is beautiful, vibrant colors, like Fujifilm, right? If you remember the difference. Why I said that is because it's oranger, and when I used to actually take photos, Fujifilm, for whatever reason, made things more orange. Anyway, I'm going to be rambling like this, but I got points to make. So, to me, that was like more of a reality-based Matrix, and that was what Neo created with the Matrix as co-creators. That was the first thing we saw. I have a theory about Neo and the Matrix, what's gone on in the last 60 years. I'm going to try to save that to the end. Something I don't understand is why Neo looks old to everyone. Because Neo's in the Matrix anyway, so why would he need to look old? like older than Keanu looks right now. That old version. I don't understand the need for the old version. That's something I'm going to have to figure out later on. I don't trust bugs. I don't trust bugs because there's some things around bugs that don't make sense to me. Number one, the question I want to answer. Remember when he is drunk and he's on the roof and he looks like he's going to jump and she pulls him back? I don't know why she pulls him back. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay, so yeah, maybe it's because he doesn't remember the Matrix anymore, but he's trying to remember it. That's why he's trying to jump. But maybe he doesn't have the neo-ness to survive the jump, because if he dies in the Matrix, because he half believes the Matrix, he will die. But in reality, he shouldn't, because if you die in the Matrix, you're supposed to wake up. So maybe it's that because he's only like running on half a tank, or whatever you want to call it, this dilapidated Neo, maybe that's why she pulls him back from jumping, but I don't completely understand that. All these younger folks, they seem to worship him in a way, like he's a legend, but they know everything about him. He made the game from within the Matrix, and this is where I think I don't have a choice but to switch to my theory, which goes to my old theory, which is probably wrong, and I'm probably just trying to desperately hang on to my theory that Neo was going to co-create the Matrix after Revolutions. But I'm doing it anyway. Okay, here's what I want to be true. Let's call it that instead of a theory. I think that Neo did co-create the Matrix, starting with that scene at the very end of Revolutions. And I think that something because 60 years have gone by, he co-created the Matrix and he screwed up. Neo fucked everything up in the Matrix he created. It could be that he was able to co-create and he could have done anything and could have made everything great. You know what I mean? Because he could have been essentially sort of a new architect. But he was so bogged down in trying to remember everything that happened because he couldn't let go of Trinity that he just lived in the past. And so he created this game, which was his version of what happened. And now all these people think that the game is the history of what actually happened, because, you know what I mean? All these kids who follow him like bugs in them. Because history is written by the survivors, and he made this game, and they're going by the game. But something he did that fucked everything up is why Niobe isn't trusting him. The only other character we have that's old is the Merovingian. The Merovingian goes on a rant, gives him shit, says he gave us, what did he call it? I can't read my own head. This is good handwriting and I can't read it. The Merovingian says something, and I was trying to see if there was any footage of what he said, and I can't make it out for the life of me. I wrote it down in my notes in the theater, and my notes are illegible. And then I listened to it again, and it sounds like he said, "You gave us face looking suck." But in the theater, I remember thinking that he was basically saying Facebook and Zuckerberg and stuff like that in one big word, meaning social media. And he said, "You gave us that." So what I'm thinking is, Neo, alright, when Neo made the truce, which, should you ever really compromise? I don't know. So when Neo made the truce with the Matrix, like I said, he became one with the Source, and then he was supposed to co-create. My theory is that he created the new Matrix, not just the game. He created the new Matrix, and within the new Matrix, he created the game. So Neo should be the architect now, but he just within the Matrix itself, he became a game creator, and now he's taking the pills. But I'm thinking there was a Matrix in between. So that Matrix that at the end of Revolutions, that new Matrix, the cat reset, and like I said, the Oracle and Sati was sitting there looking at the, or was it sunrise? It was sunrise, wasn't it? Okay, they're looking at it, it's all beautiful. That was the new Matrix that Neo co-created with, because Neo didn't die. Neo became one with Force. When you die, you don't die. Okay, so that's why I said he never died. Yeah, his body may have got fucked up, but I didn't think he died. And the body thing is the sticking point, but there are reasons. Anyway, so I think he made that. Somewhere in the 60 years between Revolutions and this movie, his Matrix failed. The one that he made failed, and it really did damage. And that's why he is with the blue pills trying to forget, because he couldn't do whatever he wanted to do, or he screwed everything up so bad, or he made the world the way it is now with Facebook and people beep beep beep, like the Merovingian said, instead of having class and style and films and originality, which is why me and the Merovingian are simpatico, because this is what I complain about all the time. So the Merovingian is blaming Neo for the way things are, and Niobe doesn't want Neo to screw up the truce between. So these people who've been around for a long time don't trust Neo for shit because they have no faith in him. Because I think he screwed up for what, I don't know how. You have Smith, who everybody's calling Smith, and I don't think the IMDb is helping by having the character named Smith next to Jonathan Groff's name, because yes, he is Smith, but he also isn't. He's a combination of things. They're all, everything in the Matrix is, like I said before, flavored with everything else. So all these people are something like the other people. That's why Neo and Trinity are kind of one and the same. And that's what people don't get either, thinking that she's now the badass and he's like the, what do you want to call it? Not the submissive one, but you get my idea. The, you know what I mean? She's the boss. But he needs Trinity. He needs to get back to who he was. He needs to remember, because he's been giving himself brain damage with blue pills all this time. What happened, and what has happened in our real world, is that the Matrix, online, digital shit on our phones, on our devices, has made people give up. They don't care anymore. Where we should be fighting against things, everybody's like, fine, I just want my Netflix. I just want to Netflix and chill. Leave me alone. You know what I mean? We went through a whole pandemic. Everybody was like, yeah, fine, let's just go sit in the house. We'll be captives. We don't care. We're not going to stand up for our right to go to McDonald's. We'll, you know what I mean? We'll just stay in the house because you told us to. As long as I have my device and it's charged, I don't care. And that's what people did. People have done for 2 years. And that is, you know, that is what the Merovingian is blaming Neo for. Because he created. I don't think he just created the game. Yes, he inside the new Matrix that has been created, he created the game. But I think that he created a Matrix. It failed. For one reason or another. This analyst, who is something of a new architect, but like I said, nobody is the pure version of what they were before. So he's not the new architect. I don't know what an analyst does in terms of computers, but I assume they analyze and try to fix things. So I feel like where Neo should have been the architect and he failed, or he sucked, or whatever, his ineptitude or his preoccupation with trying to live in the past and make the game so he could constantly think about Trinity, left the door open for this evil being of the analyst to come in and basically take over Neo's job, and to now create this matrix that we're seeing now. Because like I said, I think there was one in the one that Neo created that got fucked up. That's my theory. That goes with my old theory. That's why it's me clinging on to my old theory. But then, so now he's evil, but I think he somehow piggybacked off of Neo and his abilities, and he was able to drug him with the blue pills to keep him not like a slave, but like he was able to use Neo. And you know how mergers and acquisitions happen. He kind of took over his spot, and he's now created this matrix. And it's probably because of he stole Neo's ideas, or he stole Neo's brilliance or something like that, and he was able to do things he wouldn't have been able to do if Neo wasn't there, if Neo hadn't set the precedence, if he hadn't done, you know, the way, let's say somebody will hire an intern and then take all the intern's ideas and then pass them off as their own. He seems like that kind of a person, or he took what, you know, all the work that Neo had done and then leapfrogged on it and then twisted it to make it this evil matrix. That's what I think happened. And in this new matrix, and in our world right now, like I said, if you virtual reality, whatever, and this is where Inception comes in, because I used to sit there and I used to put on Inception before I went to bed, and it used to just loop all night. And I got the idea, like, I didn't like my life. This is me personally. I didn't like my life. I didn't feel like I had any hope anymore. So I decided that I was going to live in the dream, as they did in Inception. And I think that's what you do when you have an online persona. I don't really care so much. I don't have a fake online persona. I'm exactly like this in real life. But you know, people, they have their Instagram and they use all the filters and they do all this stuff and they create a version of themselves that's not really real. Lost my train of thought. Yeah, so in terms of living in the dream, if you remember Inception, and these are now Inception spoilers, if you remember, the whole point is that you can, once you're in the dream, you can, the whoever the person is, Elliot Page had played the character who, I forgot what they called him, not the architect of the dream. What was it? Was it the architect? What did they call them? Because it had been Lucas has before, and they needed a new one. Anyway, so at the time, the character Ariadne, she was the one creating, she was supposed to be creating, and there was other people, and then they kept going into other people's dreams, remember? And then they had to go into Cillian Murphy's dream. And anyway, the point was, in the dream, and we find out that in the dream a long time ago, what the hell was his name? Whatever Leo's name was, and I'm remembering all the other characters' names. Leo and, you know, Marion Cotillard, Mal, they lived in the dream and they built a whole world together. And then she couldn't tell the difference between the dream world and reality. And that may play a part here too. Anyway, the point is, to live in the dream, you live in your fantasy world. And that's what everybody's doing online with their fake personalities. Like I said, on Instagram, their fake filters and all the stuff like that. So, that's what the Merovingian is railing against. He's railing at and I agree with him. And the way we've become is totally phony and bullshit. And because everybody gave up, the Matrix is taking over, and this bad man, the analyst, is taking over, and it doesn't matter. And if you don't fight for your freedom, you lose it. And that's what's happening here. And that's why they're talking about people giving up. They let the Matrix win. So at this point in the story, the Matrix has won. And I think it won because Neo stood down. Because he was grieving Trinity or something, or he couldn't get over it. Now, the problem is still choice. At some point somewhere, they said that there's a failsafe. The Matrix installed a failsafe, and like I said, to me, this is this new version of the Matrix. And the suits, who the suits are remains a mystery. But the suits have installed a failsafe that will reset the Matrix. That's what they said. But for some reason, the analyst wants Neo to choose. So he's been drugging Neo all this time because he wants him to choose to reset the Matrix. This is that free will bullshit that doesn't really exist. But what the point is this is what they wanted. The analyst wants Neo to give up voluntarily. He doesn't want to just, for some reason, the analyst wants Neo to give up, to surrender. Why? So what character in history and folklore and mythology is the analyst? Because Satan doesn't want you to give up on your own, because Satan's a rebel. So it's more towards the normal architect, the control freak, who is like, yeah, I can do it. I can make the choice for you that you don't really have, but I want you to choose the right thing. So the analyst has to be a new, not architect in terms of the one who's made the Matrix, because like I said, I still think Neo and the Matrix, this is like I said, this is like a takeover, but they want you to, instead of just doing it, they want you to volunteer. They want to, oh shit, I almost had the word. All right, you know how in It's a Wonderful Life, spoilers for It's a Wonderful Life, you know how in It's a Wonderful Life, George has the trouble with the bank. Uncle Billy lost the money, and then George goes to Mr. Potter. And even before that, when Mr. Potter was trying to take over, and he wants George to volunteer it. He wants him to, what is the word I'm looking for? It's an obvious word. It's not surrender, it's not give up, but it's the same idea. I'm going to have to look up it. Okay. The analyst wants Neo to concede and give over the Matrix to him and his minions, whoever they are. Not his minions. He's a minion of the suits. So he is telling the suits, nah, I think I can get him to give up. I think I can get him to, surrender to us or make a deal with us. Compromise with us instead of us just taking over, which we could totally do. But it'll be more, I mean, he's evil. Here's why he's evil, because he was talking about, I brought up Garmon Bozia in the other, my other review there. He's a broker or something. You know what I mean? He's like a middleman. He's a shitty middleman. Anyway, he wants to create as much power from the batteries as possible. So he will abuse the people in the pods in order to get as much tortured response out of them, because that creates more energy. That makes the batteries, the humans, produce more energy the more shit they're under. So whereas people right now are able to probably create their own matrix, like they're in the pod creating their own life. Everybody's getting to be Walter Mitty. Everybody's getting to create, live in the dream, and they're comfortable doing that, and they don't want to be woken up. maybe if the analyst takes over, they will then rewire it so they don't have a choice, and they will just make them all have nightmares all the time, and through those nightmares all the time they'll get a stress response. And I don't know, maybe cortisol makes better energy than, you know, bliss, who knows. But so that would therefore be but the suits would then have to be machines that are, the analyst is working for somebody. Whoever the suits are have to be the ones who want this, the energy produced by it, which is the machines, right? Or the delegation between the machines and the real world, who decide everything. And why Niobe just wants peace, she don't want no more shit because she's old. We didn't see who the villains are, because the villains are the suits. So if the suits are, whoever the suits are is running the analyst is trying to produce the best result possible by getting as much energy out of the people as he can. He's a piece of shit, and he also wants Neo to just kowtow and surrender and concede. And there's another word for it. Right, yield is the only other one I'm getting. The idea that you give up instead of, you know, you know how, okay, Return of the Jedi, spoilers. You know how in Return of the Jedi, what the Emperor really wanted was for Luke to give in and join him. And he was like, no, I'm not gonna. And he threw his lightsaber. He's like, I'm a Jedi like my father before me. And he's like, oh, and then the Emperor's like, oh, really? And he's like, tsk. So the point is, the analyst and the suits and those guys could just Neo, but they want him to give in. They want him to surrender. They want him to join them, join the dark side, which he kind of did at the end of Revolutions. But in this case, they want him to just, I think they want him to hand over the Matrix, and he doesn't understand who he is, and he doesn't understand that he's a co-creator and he could do what he wants because he was too busy living in the past, you know, just making the game, you know, living in the dream where he's a creator, and he just is trying to get, you know what I'm saying? He's trying to relive that past with Trinity, but then they wake him up, and she's in the pod over there, and the fact that they're twin flames, and their combined strength makes them all powerful. He needed to be reminded of that. He needed them to wake him up. He needed Trinity for that. So from here, now they can do whatever they want. So him and Trinity together may be able to do what Neo didn't do at the end of Revolutions, although he should have. But like I said, a bunch of shit happened in them 60 years, and we don't know what it is. But I feel like my theory is that Neo was able to co-create, screwed up somehow, that he made it this world, that he made it so that everybody's on a device, nobody cares anymore. People are shitty. All they do is care about playing computer games. All they care about is social media. All they care about is their phone. And that's worse than, you know. So he shouldn't have made, maybe he shouldn't have joined. Maybe he should have kept fighting. I don't know. Niobe wants peace to stay. To me, there's another movie there. There's got to be another movie or something that will carry on this story, because it just, to me, it opened up a bunch. And I like it, and I don't understand why other people don't. Let me see if there's anything else I missed. Okay, that's what I was trying to say. If the analyst was able to get Neo to give in, then they would break him, and that would mean that he's no longer a threat in the future. He and Trinity combined can be leaders of any resistance in the future if they get the one who's powerful enough to fight up against them, to give in and to resign, and to just, then they've won forever. They didn't just win now. They got rid of the opposition for all time. That's what I'm saying. But that's only if he agrees to it. If they reset it again, then they got the same problem with Neo again. So that's why choice is the problem. They need him to choose to give up. Because once he gives up, it's the end forever. And I think the stuff with the analysts and stuff, I feel like Neo, either he messed up so bad or something that he voluntarily took those pills. He voluntarily wants to just block everything out. And it's not just because Trinity died. Like I said, I think he screwed up. And the only thing I don't get about the bodies, and I got to talk about that in a minute. The bodies. Here's where my personal philosophies don't agree. I have made many a video, and I don't like race, and I don't like the gender thing, and I don't like any of this crap, because I said my whole thing is you're not your meat suit. You are not your meat suit. So to change from one meat suit to another makes no sense to me. So when Neo died at the end of Revolutions, I didn't think he died, because to me, Neo was not a meat suit. Neo was his spirit or his soul or whatever you want to call it. And his spirit or his soul, in my opinion, went into the source, combined with the source, and from there he would be able to co-create as a spiritual being, not as a computer programmer, as a spiritual being, this new matrix. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because there's a whole spiritual side to these movies that get caught up in, that gets forgotten about when we get caught up in talking about things as if it's all computer programs and shit. So that's why his body may have been damaged beyond repair, supposedly at the end, which would made him die. But this whole thing of having to repair them, though, I don't trust anything that the analyst said at this point when he's talking about, oh, we had to spend so much. It's like reconstructing a house. Oh my God. And all this shit. He's evil. Just like I would say, don't trust the Emperor in Star Wars. He's not, don't trust the words that are coming out of his mouth. I wouldn't trust him either. And at this point, he really looks like he's lying. And he talked about lying earlier. But for me, it's like, I don't think he repaired Neo. Again, Neo should have been in charge. Why they had to repair Neo's body, or why they had to repair Trinity's body is not something I would have gone with if I was creating the story. Like I said, you could just make a clone, and you could have Keanu. You could have Neo's consciousness, which I said was creating, we should have been co-creating with Source. It could have just gone into a new clone. So you could have had, say it's 60 years on, and you know, you have you created a new clone at that point. You know, Keanu's in his 50s, so he would look like a new clone did if it grew all that time. So to me, I would have gone with clones and not repairing, because the body's a body. Clones don't, the idea is clones wouldn't have a spirit. So his spirit, as a co-creator of the Matrix, he could have created a new body for his soul. And for Trinity's as well. That's how I see it. Reincarnated into a clone body. Why they decided to go along with the whole, oh, we renovated as, I don't see the need for a renovation. And unfortunately, I'm not going to say why I think they decided to go that route where I wouldn't have, because like I said, I don't believe in meat suits. I wouldn't change my meat suit. People do now change their meat suits. People get plastic surgery. People do a lot of things to look other than they do, because they think that changing their meat suit is going to help who they are on the inside. I don't personally agree with that, but a lot of people do, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody else's opinion or what people do with their own lives, but to me, meat suits don't matter. So if I wrote the same exact story, the thing I would have changed that would have made more sense to me was I would have just made clones. I would have, because you have to wonder where the people are coming from. Why would the machines not make clones to have many, many, many batteries? And if you made a bunch of clones of Neo, because how could you have so many different iterations of the Matrix, and how many different, we've been through this before, and in this iteration this happened. And the Merovingian said before, the Merovingian has been telling the truth the whole time. But the Merovingian was sick of him in Reloaded. He was so sick of his shit because he'd been through it with him before. And I swore at some point somewhere, unless somebody said it, or there was the idea that the Merovingian was like an early version of what Neo should have been. So the point is, the only issue I have with that whole reconstruction thing is if that's what really happened, fine, whatever. And if the analyst in MPH wasn't being, what do you call it? What do they call it? Not dishonest narrator. They call it something when you can't trust your narrator. Anyway, that thing. If he was actually telling the truth and they reconstructed, which he wouldn't have done. Like I said, he's taking credit for shit. Anyway, I think Neo is to blame for the society they have right now with everybody on the phone and stuff like that. That's why the Merovingian was blaming him for Zuckerberg. But yeah. Those are all my theories. That's what I'm reading into things. Most of that is me trying to cling on to my theory from the end of Revolutions, that when I said I thought that it should have been the third movie of 5, because from that point on, I thought Neo could have created the Matrix. Co-created the Matrix with Source, which there's something in what Niobe said. There's something in there where he screwed up. There's something in there where she just wants peace with the machines. She doesn't want Neo to screw up. But why, at the end of Revolutions, I don't think she would have thought he screwed up. So something happened in between there. And like I said, I feel like there was a version of the Matrix that began at the end of Revolutions and either does not exist anymore or has been totally corrupted. And it's that we're seeing here. But I feel like there was another version that Neo co-created and screwed up. If not, this is the screwed up version. And he somehow, like I said, through living in the past, through allowing himself to be drugged or whatever, by giving away his power to the analyst, now the analyst has it being this horrible thing where they have swarms and all that stuff. Something in there could be right, but like I said, most of that's me clinging on to my old theory. This is 43 minutes long. So I'll try to do sections. There is no sections because I just talked throughout. But that's my further musings on Matrix Resurrections. If anyone has anything to say, please tell me. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm stupid. Tell me I don't know how to watch movies. I don't care. I still love the movie. I still give it a 10 out of 10. So, yeah. I don't think I left anything out. I would love, like I said, I would love a Merv, Merovingian spin-off series, but I really hope they do another movie. Box office be damned, because like I said, Spider-Man saved everything, but you know, with the pandemic and everything, and people constantly being made afraid of new variants and stuff like that, and like I said, people don't really have any money. What I had to go through just to go myself and see it the one time. I do not have HBO Max, like I said, but the world's going to be different anyway. We'll see what world we get. But in the future, who knows what movies are going to be like. But I think this is great the way it is. And it would be great to have another one at least. Because now at the end, Neo and Trinity. Trinity's running at full speed. Neo's still, you know, on like 75%. They are now in the situation where she was snapping her fingers and stuff. They understood that they could just create anytime they wanted to. And that was always the case. And they didn't need that. The point is, when she said, that's the other thing, when she said about, you know, pissed at him for using children, the point is getting you to have a dream that's so enticing and so, you know what I mean, giving you everything you want. Oh, you know, make motorcycles, and here you got this, you know, these kids and a husband and this nice, like, soccer mom type life. And making it so comfortable. Like, why would you ever leave the dream? That's what she was saying. So that's what I'm saying. Watch Inception if you haven't in a while. Because a lot of people thought Inception ripped off The Matrix. I never even thought that way, because I thought dreams, computers, I wasn't even thinking the same way. But yeah. So that's my conclusion. My conclusion is Keanu. I keep calling him Keanu. Neo did co-create the Matrix at the end of Revolutions. Somehow he screwed up. Because of that, and because he was living in the past, and, you know, he allowed himself to be drugged with the blue pills to forget about everything. And in his mental absence, this analyst guy took over and has made everything a pile of shit. That's what I think. But they want him, they still somehow need him to make the choice to give up so that he's no longer a threat to them. And I'm not, if I'm missing some other allegory or some other biblical story apart from just the idea that we all supposedly have free will and stuff like that, let me know.